The cruelest betrayal is not when someone stops loving you. It is when they hear the fear in your voice, understand exactly what is happening, and still decide that someone else is more important. Ethan Walker's phone vibrated for the 17th time on the leather console of his silver Rolls-Royce. The screen lit the dark interior with a name he had once promised would always come first. Emma. He did not need to guess why she was calling. Her last text had been painfully clear. My contractions are 3 minutes apart. I'm scared. Please answer. Beside him, Vanessa Brooks turned her wrist beneath the warm lights of an exclusive downtown jewelry boutique, admiring the diamond bracelet Ethan had just purchased for her. You promised me one uninterrupted evening, she said, half teasing and half warning. No business. No emergencies that somehow become your responsibility. Ethan stared at Emma's name for another second. Earlier that week, her doctor had sent her home after a false alarm. Ethan used that memory now like permission. She panics, he said quietly. Vanessa's smile returned. Then let her calm herself down. The phone stopped vibrating. 23 miles away, Emma Walker gripped the steering wheel of her compact SUV as another contraction tightened across her stomach. Rain struck the windshield so hard that the wipers could barely clear it. Red taillights blurred into streaks ahead of her, and the dashboard clock read 8:42 p.m. She was 36 weeks pregnant. She was alone, and the warning light on her dashboard had begun flashing 5 minutes after she left home. Come on, she whispered to the vehicle. Just get us there. The baby shifted beneath her hand. Emma tried to breathe the way Dr. Rachel Bennett had taught her, slowly through the nose, steadily through the mouth. But this pain was nothing like the practice contractions from earlier in the week. These came lower, sharper, and closer together. Her phone connected to Ethan's voicemail again. Ethan, listen to me. She paused as the pressure stole her breath. This isn't another false alarm. I think my water broke. I'm on County Route 9, near mile marker 42. The car is losing power. Please call me back. She ended the message and forced herself to guide the SUV onto the shoulder. The engine shuddered, the headlights dimmed, and then everything went quiet except the rain. At the boutique, a sales associate placed a velvet necklace box on the counter. Vanessa opened it and drew in a delighted breath. It's beautiful. You deserve beautiful things, Ethan said. His phone vibrated again. This time he unlocked it. He saw the missed calls. He saw the text about contractions. He saw the beginning of Emma's newest voicemail transcription. This isn't another false alarm. For one brief moment, his hand moved toward the call button. Then Vanessa slipped her arm through his. The gala starts in 20 minutes. Ethan locked the screen. I'll deal with it after the speech. That sentence would return to him for years. On the highway, Emma tried the ignition twice. Nothing. She looked at the darkness beyond the rain and understood that waiting for Ethan was no longer a plan. She dialed 911. A dispatcher answered immediately. Emma gave her name, her pregnancy status, and the nearest mile marker. The connection crackled, but the dispatcher repeated the location back and told her help was being sent. Emma placed the phone on speaker, unlocked the doors, switched on the hazard lights, and reached for the hospital bag beside her. Inside it were 2 tiny outfits, insurance cards, her birth plan, and a white knitted blanket her mother had made before passing away. Beneath the blanket was a letter Emma had written for her unborn son. The first line read, "Your father already loves you more than you can imagine." Emma stared at the sentence until another contraction made her close her eyes. Maybe I was wrong about him, she whispered, resting both hands over her belly. But I will not be wrong about us. A truck rushed past, spraying water across the windows. Her SUV rocked on the shoulder. In the distance, no sirens were visible yet. Back downtown, Ethan signed a receipt worth more than many families earned in several months. The associate congratulated him and Vanessa as though they were a couple. Neither corrected her. As they stepped toward the exit, Ethan's phone lit once more. A new message appeared beneath Emma's name. Emergency services are on the way. I needed my husband, but I called strangers instead. Ethan read every word. Then he put the phone in his pocket and followed Vanessa into the rain. Emma had always believed love revealed itself through ordinary choices. It was coffee waiting on the counter before sunrise. It was remembering which side of the bed someone preferred. It was showing up when showing up was inconvenient. For 3 years, Ethan had seemed to understand that. When they met, Emma was an elementary school teacher with a small apartment, a practical car, and a life that did not impress wealthy people but made her happy. Ethan was building a real estate company from borrowed office space and relentless ambition. He loved that she spoke to him honestly. She loved that he seemed to value loyalty more than status. After their wedding, his company grew faster than either of them expected. Magazine profiles called him disciplined, visionary, and self-made. Investors trusted him because he appeared calm under pressure. Charity organizations invited him to speak about responsibility. Emma stood beside him at galas, helped plan community events, and eventually stepped away from teaching when the travel and public obligations became impossible to balance. She told herself it was temporary. Then she became pregnant after 2 years of trying, and temporary became easier to postpone. Ethan cried when they first heard the heartbeat. He painted one wall of the nursery himself, even though they could have paid someone else. He carried the ultrasound picture in his wallet and promised their son that his father would never miss an important moment. But success had slowly changed what Ethan considered important. Business dinners became late nights. Late nights became weekends away. His phone began facing downward during breakfast. He stopped attending prenatal appointments unless photographers might be present at the hospital fundraiser afterward. Emma noticed. She simply did not want to name what she noticed. Vanessa Brooks entered their lives as a luxury brand consultant hired to redesign Ethan's public image. She was polished, charming, and skilled at making ambition sound like destiny. At first, Emma tried to like her. Then came private jokes, unexplained travel changes, and a perfume scent in Ethan's car that Emma never wore. Hope survived longer than evidence. Now, stranded beside a highway in a storm, Emma understood the price of protecting an illusion. The 911 dispatcher remained on speaker, her voice breaking through static. "Emma, help has been dispatched. Are you bleeding heavily?" "No," Emma swallowed. "I'm having contractions, and there was fluid. The baby is moving." "That's good. Stay in the vehicle unless there is immediate danger. Keep your doors unlocked for responders. Can you tell me if anyone is nearby?" Emma looked through the rear window. "No, not yet." Her phone battery showed 12%. "I may lose the call. We have your location. If we disconnect, do not waste your battery calling repeatedly. Help is coming." The line crackled again and went silent. Emma placed the phone beside her and reached into the hospital bag. The white blanket still smelled faintly of cedar from the chest where her mother had stored it. Emma pressed it against her face for 1 second. Her mother had died before meeting Ethan. She had only seen photographs and heard stories about the ambitious young man who promised to build a safe life for her daughter. "What would you tell me now?" Emma whispered. The answer came in her mother's remembered voice. "Stop waiting for people to become who they promised to be. Pay attention to who they choose to be." Across the city, Ethan and Vanessa entered the Grand Meridian Hotel through a private entrance. Chandeliers reflected across marble floors. Camera flashes greeted donors and executives arriving for the annual Children's Hospital benefit. The irony did not register with Ethan. He was scheduled to deliver a speech about community responsibility. His phone vibrated as an unfamiliar number called. He let it ring. Vanessa noticed. "Still her?" "No. Probably the hospital fundraiser team. Then they can find you inside." A second unfamiliar call followed. Ethan declined it. What he did not know was that St. Mary Medical Center's switchboard had received Emma's emergency information from county dispatch and was attempting to confirm her medical history through her listed emergency contact. The call was not dramatic. No one threatened him. No one knew yet how serious the night would become. It was simply another opportunity to answer. He chose not to. On the highway, amber lights finally appeared through the rain. A white pickup pulled onto the shoulder behind Emma's SUV, leaving enough distance for emergency vehicles. Its driver stepped out wearing a weathered brown jacket and carrying a flashlight. He approached from the passenger side, so Emma could see him clearly. "Ma'am, my name is Michael Reynolds. I saw your hazard lights. Are emergency services coming?" Emma lowered the window slightly. "Yes, I called. I'm in labor." Michael's expression changed immediately, but his voice stayed calm. "All right, I'm going to stay right here until they arrive. My wife delivered our daughter during a storm. I know enough to know you shouldn't be alone." Emma closed her eyes as relief moved through her more powerfully than fear. A complete stranger had stopped within seconds. Her husband had ignored 17 calls. Michael did not try to become a hero. He did not move Emma from the vehicle, offer medical advice he was unqualified to give. or make promises he could not keep. He simply confirmed the mile marker with 911, positioned his truck to shield her SUV from traffic, and stood near the passenger window beneath a large umbrella. Paramedics are 7 minutes away, he told her. County Dispatch already had your location. Emma nodded, breathing through another contraction. You're doing better than you think, Michael said. She almost laughed. I'm terrified. So was my wife. He smiled gently. Being terrified and being strong can happen at the same time. Those words settled somewhere inside Emma and stayed there. Michael asked whether there was anyone he should contact. Emma looked at Ethan's name on her screen. My husband knows. Michael understood the meaning behind her answer and did not ask another question. The sirens became audible moments later. Red and white lights reflected across the wet pavement as an ambulance pulled onto the shoulder. 2 paramedics approached with equipment while a state trooper slowed traffic in the nearest lane. The lead paramedic introduced herself as Carla Ruiz. She assessed Emma, confirmed that the baby's heartbeat was present, and asked careful questions about the contractions, fluid, medications, allergies, and pregnancy history. We're taking you to St. Mary, Carla said. You made the right call. Emma looked embarrassed. I waited too long. You called before the situation became worse. That matters. With practiced care, the team transferred Emma onto a stretcher. Michael retrieved her hospital bag and handed it to a paramedic, then gave Carla his name and phone number as a witness to the roadside condition of the vehicle. Before the ambulance doors closed, Emma looked at him. Thank you for stopping. Michael shook his head. Thank you for calling for help. The distinction mattered. He had assisted her, but Emma had saved herself first. As the ambulance entered traffic, Carla asked permission to contact Emma's listed emergency person. My husband, Emma said. Would you like us to call him? Emma hesitated, then nodded. One more time. Carla used the ambulance phone. Ethan's number rang and went to voicemail. She left a brief message identifying herself, stating that Emma was being transported to St. Mary Medical Center and instructing him to call the labor and delivery unit immediately. No medical details were shared beyond what Emma had authorized. At the Grand Meridian, Ethan stood backstage reviewing his speech while applause rolled through the ballroom. His phone illuminated on a nearby table. Ambulance notification. St. Mary Medical Center. Labor and delivery. The words were no longer ambiguous. Ethan picked up the phone and listened to the first 8 seconds of Carla's voicemail. He heard Emma's name. He heard the word ambulance. He heard St. Mary. His face changed. Vanessa stepped closer. What is it? Emma's going to the hospital. Isn't that where pregnant women go? He looked at her. Vanessa softened her tone. Ethan, she had a false alarm 4 days ago. You're about to speak in front of the biggest donors in the state. If you leave now, everyone will ask why. My wife may be in labor. And if she is, hospitals have doctors. What exactly are you going to do that trained professionals cannot? It was a cruel argument because it sounded practical. Ethan looked toward the stage entrance. His name was being announced. He could have walked away. He could have called the hospital. He could have told the truth to the audience and left. Instead, he silenced the phone and stepped into the lights. Good evening, he began, smiling as cameras flashed. Real leadership is measured by the people who can depend on us when circumstances become difficult. 23 miles away, Emma heard the same sentence months later in a video clip. But that night, she heard only the ambulance monitor and Carla's reassuring voice. At St. Mary Medical Center, a labor team waited at the emergency entrance. The ambulance doors opened beneath bright white lights, and Emma was moved inside with calm urgency. A nurse took the hospital bag. Another confirmed Emma's identity and asked who she wanted notified. My husband has already been called, Emma said. Is there anyone else? Emma thought of former co-workers she had gradually stopped seeing, neighbors she barely knew, and a life that had narrowed around Ethan's schedule. No, she whispered. There isn't. The nurse squeezed her hand. Then until you choose someone, you have us. For the first time that night, Emma stopped looking toward every opening door. Dr. Rachel Bennett entered the examination room with the focused calm of someone who knew panic helped no one. After reviewing the monitor and speaking with the nurses, she pulled a chair closer to Emma. You're in active preterm labor, she said. Your son's heartbeat is reassuring right now, but there have been a few changes we want to watch closely. We may need to deliver tonight. Emma's fingers tightened around the white blanket. Is he going to be all right? At 36 weeks, Most babies do very well. Our neonatal team is nearby if he needs extra support. You did exactly what you were supposed to do by calling for help. Emma looked away. I should have called sooner. Dr. Bennett did not offer empty reassurance. You cannot change the minutes behind you. You can make good decisions with the minute you have now. And right now, you are safe. A nurse asked whether Emma wanted the hospital to keep attempting Ethan's number. Emma stared at the dark screen of her own phone. Yes, she said. But please don't delay anything waiting for him. No one will. The switchboard placed 2 documented calls. Both went to voicemail. A third call was made after Dr. Bennett decided labor was progressing too quickly to stop safely. The nurse left a message asking Ethan to contact the unit. She recorded the time in Emma's chart as part of routine care. There was no secret surveillance system recording missed calls. There did not need to be. The hospital's phone log, Emma's own call history, the ambulance report, and the nurse's notes each preserved their small part of the night. Across town, Ethan finished his speech to a standing ovation. Vanessa met him at the edge of the stage with a glass of sparkling water. See? You would have regretted leaving. His phone showed 20 missed calls, including 3 from St. Mary. For the first time, guilt cut through his excuses. I should call. Then call after the photographs. A photographer waved them toward a backdrop bearing the Children's Hospital Foundation logo. Ethan looked at the screen again. He could still leave. He could still arrive before his son was born. The night had not yet taken everything from him. He placed one hand at Vanessa's back and stepped toward the cameras. At St. Mary, Emma's labor intensified. The baby's heart rate dipped during 2 contractions, then recovered. Dr. Bennett explained that the team would continue monitoring and intervene if necessary. She answered every question in plain language and asked Emma's permission before each decision. Emma had imagined Ethan beside her, counting breaths and holding her hand. Instead, Nurse Maya Chen stayed near the bed, offered iced chips, and reminded her that fear did not mean failure. Between contractions, Emma asked for her phone. She opened the letter written for her son. The sentence about Ethan's love looked dishonest now. She deleted nothing. She simply added a new paragraph beneath it. Your life began on a night when I learned something important. Love is not what people promise when life is easy. Love is what they choose when staying becomes difficult. I promise I will keep choosing you. Near midnight, the nurse returned with an update. We reached your husband's voicemail again. Emma nodded once. No tears came this time. Please remove him from the visitor list for tonight, she said. If he arrives, tell him I'm safe. Nothing more unless I approve it. The nurse confirmed the request and documented it. Emma had spent months waiting for Ethan to make her feel secure. In the middle of labor, surrounded by strangers, she finally made the first boundary that belonged entirely to her. Shortly before dawn, Emma's son entered the world with a strong cry that silenced every fear in the delivery room. Dr. Bennett placed him against Emma's chest while the neonatal nurse completed a brief assessment. He was small, warm, and furious at the brightness of the world. Emma laughed and cried at the same time. Hello, Noah, she whispered. We made it. The name had been chosen months earlier. During one of the last evenings, Ethan had seemed fully present. Emma considered changing it. Then Noah curled his fingers around hers, and she understood the name belonged to her child, not to the broken promise surrounding his birth. Nurse Maya offered to take photographs using Emma's phone. Emma agreed. She captured Noah's first yawn, his tiny hand against Emma's chest, and the white blanket folded beside them. Would you like me to send one to anyone? Maya asked. Emma looked at Ethan's contact, then locked the screen. Not yet. The hospital did not send photographs or private medical information without Emma's permission. It notified Ethan only that he should contact the unit, and after delivery Emma authorized a nurse to say that mother and baby were stable. At 5:37 a.m., Ethan finally answered. He was leaving a rooftop restaurant with Vanessa when St. Mary appeared on his screen again. The nurse identified herself and confirmed his relationship to Emma. Your wife has authorized me to tell you that she and the baby are stable, she said. Your son was born this morning. Ethan stopped beneath the hotel awning. My son? Yes. I'm coming now. Mrs. Walker has requested no visitors at this time. You may call later for an update if she approves one. The sentence stunned him more than anger would have. She can't keep me from my child. The nurse remained professional. I'm explaining the current visitor request for a recovering patient. Questions about future parenting arrangements are not decided by hospital staff. The call ended. Vanessa crossed her arms. So she's punishing you. Ethan looked at her as though seeing the evening clearly for the first time. The bracelet, the photographs, the applause, the speech about dependability, every beautiful detail had become evidence of ugliness. She called me 17 times before we reached the hotel, he said. Vanessa said nothing. I listened to the ambulance message. You made your own decision. The truth in her answer removed his last excuse. Ethan drove to St. Mary alone. He arrived after sunrise carrying no flowers because even he understood how insulting they would look. At the maternity desk, a staff member confirmed that Emma did not want visitors. Ethan sat in the public waiting area for nearly 2 hours, hoping she would change her mind. She did not. Upstairs, Emma watched morning light move across Noah's face. She expected triumph when told Ethan was waiting downstairs. Instead, she felt grief for the man she had believed existed. Do you want him to see the baby through the nursery window? Maya asked. Emma considered it carefully. Not today. That answer was not revenge. She had delivered early, slept less than an hour, and needed medical recovery. She was entitled to quiet. Dr. Bennett stopped by before ending her shift. You have a healthy little boy and a good support plan from our social worker. Is there anything else you need? Emma looked at Noah. A life that doesn't depend on someone answering eventually. Dr. Bennett smiled gently. That sounds like something you can build. By mid-morning, Ethan sat alone in his office facing the first consequence no amount of money could negotiate away: absence. He had missed Noah's first breath. He had missed Emma reaching for a hand that never came. He had missed the moment their family changed from a promise into a fact. His assistant entered with a schedule of meetings. Ethan canceled them all. Then he listened to every voicemail in order. At 8:19 p.m. Emma sounded worried. At 8:31, she said the contractions were closer. At 8:42, she said the car was losing power. At 8:48, she said she thought her water had broken. At 8:53, Carla Ruiz identified herself as a paramedic and said Emma was being transported by ambulance. There was no moment Ethan could point to and claim he had not understood. The messages documented a series of choices, each one offering him another chance to turn around. He opened Vanessa's social media page. Photographs from the gala appeared with automatic timestamps. In one, Ethan smiled beneath the charity logo at 9:16 p.m. In another, Vanessa kissed his cheek at 10:04. At 12:11 a.m., they raised glasses at the rooftop restaurant. The posts had been public for hours. Ethan called Vanessa. Take the pictures down. Why? Because my wife was in labor. She was your wife when you posed for them. Again, Vanessa refused to carry the blame for a decision he had made himself. At St. Mary, Michael Reynolds returned Emma's car keys and the roadside property receipt through the hospital's patient services desk. He did not request access to her room or seek Ethan out. He left a simple card with his phone number in case Emma needed a witness for insurance purposes. My wife, Laura, and I are glad you and your son are safe. You made the right call. Wishing you peace. Emma asked a nurse to help her call him. Michael answered on the second ring. I wanted you to know Noah is healthy, she said. That is the best news I've heard all week. You stayed when you didn't have to. So did the state trooper. So did the paramedics. So did the hospital team. Emma smiled. You're not very good at accepting gratitude. I'm better at reminding people they saved themselves. 3 days later, Emma was discharged. Her former teaching colleague, Claire Dawson, arrived with a car seat and an offer Emma was finally willing to accept. Stay in Claire's guest room until she decided what came next. Ethan waited outside the hospital holding white lilies. The flowers were perfect. His face was not. Emma, please let me explain. She stopped several feet away, keeping Noah's carrier close. You already did. I made the worst mistake of my life. A mistake is taking the wrong exit, Emma said. You heard the ambulance message. You saw the hospital calls. You made a choice more than once. Ethan's eyes moved toward the carrier. Please let me see him. Not here. Not like this. I'm his father. Yes. And that gives you responsibilities, not automatic control over me while I'm recovering. Claire stepped closer, but said nothing. Emma continued, calm enough to frighten him. My attorney will contact you about a temporary parenting plan. I am not going to erase you from Noah's life. But I will not pretend your judgment that night was safe or acceptable. Ethan looked at the lilies in his hand. What attorney? The one I called this morning. Emma walked past him without looking back. Attorney Olivia Grant did not promise Emma revenge. She promised process. During their first video consultation, Olivia listened without interrupting, then asked precise questions about Noah's health, Emma's housing, shared finances, and what outcome she actually wanted. Safety, stability, and time to recover, Emma said. I don't want to use Noah to punish Ethan. Good, Olivia replied. Family court is supposed to focus on the child's best interests, not on punishing a spouse for adultery. Ethan's affair may explain the marriage ending. What matters for parenting is his judgment, reliability, and willingness to put Noah's needs first. Emma authorized Olivia to obtain copies of her own medical records and the ambulance report. They preserved her phone without editing the messages. Olivia sent formal preservation letters requesting that Ethan retain relevant communications and that the hotel preserve publicly posted event materials already associated with the gala. Claire saved screenshots of Vanessa's posts with visible timestamps and web addresses before they disappeared. No one stole surveillance footage. No hospital employee secretly released private records. Every document came from Emma, public sources, routine discovery, or properly authorized requests. Within days, the attorneys negotiated a temporary agreement. Emma retained primary physical care while Noah recovered from an early birth. Ethan received short visits at a neutral family center, not because a judge had declared him permanently dangerous, but because he had no newborn care experience. Emma was medically recovering, and trust had collapsed. The arrangement would be reviewed as he completed a parenting course and demonstrated consistency. Ethan initially rejected the proposal. I'm not a criminal, he told his attorney. No one said you were, she answered. But you left your laboring wife without responding after an ambulance called. If you want more parenting time, arguing about your pride is less useful than showing up. For the first time, Ethan began showing up. He attended every scheduled visit. He learned how to support Noah's head, prepare a bottle, and recognize when the baby was overstimulated. He arrived early because arriving late had become unbearable to him. But improvement did not repair the marriage. During mediation 6 months later, Ethan apologized without excuses. Emma listened, then placed her wedding ring on the table. I believe you regret it, she said. Regret is not the same as restoration. Their property and support issues were resolved through a written settlement. Emma received her share of marital assets and funds to restart her career. Ethan remained wealthy and continued leading his company, although he resigned from the Children's Foundation Board after donors questioned the contradiction between his speech and his private conduct. Money protected his lifestyle. It could not purchase Emma's trust. 8 months after Noah's birth, the family court held a final parenting hearing. There was no jury, no dramatic prosecutor, and no criminal verdict. A judge reviewed the evidence under the ordinary question that guides custody decisions. What arrangement best served the child? Olivia presented the ambulance timeline, Emma's call history, hospital switchboard records, and Ethan's acknowledged decision to remain at the gala after hearing the paramedics' message. Ethan's attorney presented his completed parenting course, months of punctual visits, and reports showing that he had behaved appropriately with Noah. The judge did not treat the affair as automatic proof that Ethan could never be a father, nor did the judge ignore the night Noah was born. Mr. Walker, she said, the court recognizes the progress you have made. It also cannot overlook the judgment you exercised during a medical emergency. Parenting requires consistent choices, especially when those choices are inconvenient. Emma was awarded primary physical custody. The parents shared legal decision-making in limited areas, with clear procedures for medical emergencies. Ethan's parenting time expanded gradually, beginning with structured daytime visits and moving toward longer periods if he remained reliable. Child support was calculated under state guidelines, not as punishment, and both parents were ordered to communicate through a parenting application. The marriage was finalized separately under the settlement agreement. Outside the courtroom, Ethan approached Emma while Noah slept against her shoulder. You won, he said quietly. Emma shook her head. This was never a competition. I lost my family. You lost our marriage. Noah still has a father if you choose to become one consistently. Ethan looked at his son. Do you think he'll ever forgive me? He doesn't know what you did, Emma replied. Someday, he may ask why you were not there. What he thinks of you will depend on every answer you give through your actions before that day comes. Emma walked toward the courthouse doors with Olivia beside her. Ethan remained in the hallway, surrounded by everything money had once made easy: attorneys, polished stone, private transportation, and confronted by the one truth wealth could not soften. The worst consequence was not public embarrassment, a financial settlement, or losing authority over Emma. It was knowing that the first chapter of his son's life had been written during the hours he chose not to read the messages. 1 year after the storm, sunlight covered Maple Grove Park while families gathered beneath flowering trees. Noah took careful steps through the grass, falling twice and laughing both times. Emma followed close enough to catch him, but far enough to let him discover balance. She had returned to teaching part-time at the elementary school where she once worked. The first months had been exhausting, but rebuilding her own life gave her something marriage to Ethan had slowly taken away: a future shaped by her choices. Claire sat nearby arranging cupcakes for Noah's first birthday. Michael Reynolds arrived with his wife, Laura, and their daughter, carrying a small blue toy truck. Dr. Bennett and Nurse Maya sent cards because hospital policy and busy schedules prevented them from joining, but their messages were tucked beside the white blanket Emma's mother had made. Ethan came at the time specified in the parenting plan. He brought one modest gift and no photographer. He greeted Emma respectfully, knelt in the grass, and waited for Noah to approach him. The child studied him, then offered the toy truck. Ethan accepted it with both hands. For the next hour, he remained present. He did not check business messages. He did not ask Emma for another chance. He understood that responsible fatherhood was not a speech, a purchase, or one emotional apology. It was a pattern built through ordinary decisions. When the visit ended, Ethan returned the truck and said goodbye without creating a scene. His life was still comfortable. His company still occupied several floors downtown. Yet every time Noah reached a milestone, Ethan understood that access to the future did not erase absence from the past. As sunset warmed the park, Noah stumbled toward Emma and wrapped both arms around her leg. She lifted him, and he rested his head against her shoulder. "Ready to go home?" she asked. He smiled sleepily. Emma looked once at the people who had stayed: Claire, who opened her home; Michael, who stopped in the rain; doctors and nurses who treated her with dignity; and the son who had given her a reason to stop confusing promises with love. The night Noah was born had not destroyed her family. It had revealed what family truly meant. Emma no longer measured success by the house she lived in, the invitations she received, or the name printed beside hers in society photographs. She measured it in peaceful mornings, honest work, dependable friendships, and the certainty that Noah would grow up knowing love as an action rather than a performance. The life ahead of them was not perfect. It was something better, real, stable, and entirely their own. Sometimes the person who saves your life is a stranger. Sometimes the person who changes it is a child too young to speak. And sometimes the strongest thing a woman can do is stop waiting for someone to choose her and begin building a life where love proves itself by staying.